This is a download from Sounds Profitable, the most important news from this week and why it matters to people in the business of podcasting. I'm Manuela Bedoya.
And I'm Shreya Sharma. This week, Amazon Prime users get ad-free podcasting music, Buzzsprout combats email spam, new ad placements at Apple cause brand safety issue, and a roundup of the 3 new podcast research studies. Let's get started.
On Tuesday, David Pierce, writing for The Verge, covered the changes coming to Amazon Prime subscribers. Previously, Amazon Prime members had access to a limited batch of 2 million songs from Amazon Music's extensive library. Now they have access to all 100 million songs in a limited shuffle-only capacity, similar to how a Spotify free account currently works. The big change makes the Amazon Prime Music offerings comparable to a free Spotify account. However, Amazon Prime members also get ad-free access to a fair few major podcasts. This includes podcasts produced by Amazon-owned companies like Wondery, as well as podcasts produced in partnership with outside companies, including NPR, ESPN, and the New York Times. Quoting the article, Amazon is also working on podcast discovery. It's rolling out a new feature called Podcast Previews, which seems to be something like trailers for podcast episodes. You'll be able to listen to a short, digestible soundbite before deciding to dive into an episode, which Amazon thinks could help discovery. End quote. Pierce says the feature is billed as being swipeable and summarizes it as Tinder for podcasts. Sounds Profitable asks several large publishers and hosting platforms for their percentage of downloads from Amazon Music. All were below 1% of monthly volume. Giving Amazon's over 250 million Prime subscribers ad-free access to podcasts might bring that percentage up soon. In addition to the Prime members, those who pay the $9 monthly subscription fee for Amazon Music Unlimited but do not have Prime get access to the ad-free podcast listening and podcast previews tool.
This Monday, Buzzsprout posted a short update announcing a significant change to how they're distributing RSS feeds. Quote, email spam has increasingly become an issue for podcasters. Spammers and bots routinely scrape RSS feeds to collect podcasters' email addresses and send them junk emails. End quote. The inclusion of a producer's email in the RSS feed has been a mixed bag in recent years. As Buzzsprout says, making it easily available does leave the door open for companies scraping data to create massive databases of email addresses, specifically to cold call, in hopes of selling something relevant to podcasters. On the other hand, anyone who has produced a podcast knows that the RSS email is an integral part of the process, with many platforms sending an email to that address with a verification link to prove the person claiming they own the RSS feed is legitimate. Buzzsprout's solution to that issue is simple. A new button has been added to the dashboard that puts the account owner's email back into the RSS feed for 24 hours, enough time to verify the podcast. Barring any teething troubles with this 24-hour temporary email addition process, it seems like Buzzsprout has indeed found an elegant solution to an inelegant problem.
As covered in past episodes of The Download, Apple has been interested in expanding advertising offerings on its platforms. This Monday, Daniel Konstantinovich at Insider Intelligence posted coverage of a brand safety speed bump Apple encountered when rolling out new ad locations on the App Store. One of the new ad spots is in the You Might Also Like section, recommending similar apps, allowing advertisers to promote their own app. On the 25th, when the ads went live, users began to notice inappropriate advertisements appearing on the platform. The chief example of this provided in the article is an ad for the game Jackpot World slot machines on the page for Recover Me, a gambling addiction management app. Quoting the article, the influx of gambling ads led to an outcry from developers who didn't want their apps associated with such services and prompted Apple to indefinitely pause ads in the gambling category. End quote. Podcasting is no stranger to this kind of hiccup. Back in May, Spotify experienced an issue with their implementation of ads on podcast pages, leading to one Wild Turkey Whiskey ad getting served to every podcast on the platform, including those about substance abuse and alcoholism, causing a small social media firestorm. Growing pains happen with large platforms rolling out changes like this. In-depth rules and hands-on verification helps reduce issues when rolling out a new moving part, like ads on every app listing. Apple is looking into expanding similar ads into Apple Podcasts as well. It's best to keep aware of how these changes happen and be comfortable reporting on them as they happen. Apple certainly doesn't want their own version of Spotify's Whiskey Snafu, but it doesn't hurt to keep an eye out when ad changes debut on any platform.
Over the past week, 3 new studies relevant to podcasting have been released. So before we close out with quick hits, here's a brief rundown of what has just hit the airwaves. The IAB New Zealand has published The Evolution of Audio 2022, built with data collected from 95 survey respondents in late August and early September. Quote, respondents are decision makers or influencers in the allocation of marketing spent across audio advertising, including media buyers and publishers and sales teams, end quote. The survey came back with promising data, including several metrics reflecting that the New Zealand ad buyers have used ads in broadcast, streaming, and podcasting way more than their Australian counterparts. Then there's the Spoken Word 2022 from NPR and Edison Research. This edition comes with a special focus on younger demographics and how they interact with spoken word content. The study found a 214% increase in spoken word consumption in the 13 to 24-year-old demographic compared to data from 2014. According to the Spoken Word, an estimated 131 million people in the US over the age of 13 listen to spoken word content on a daily basis, an increase of 26 million over 8 years. And finally, the Q3 version of Magellan AI's podcast advertising benchmark report is here. The report examined over 78,000 episodes of popular podcasts to get a snapshot of the state of podcast advertising. Notable findings include 1,878 new brands or products advertised with podcasts for the first time this quarter, a 2.6% increase quarter over quarter in podcast ad spending, and 36% of ads were 30 seconds in length. Finally, it's time for our semi-regular roundup of articles we're calling Quick Hits. These are articles that didn't quite make the cut for today's episode, but are still worth including in your weekend reading. This week, audiences say advertisers shouldn't avoid hard news, like war or COVID by Ryan Barwick for Marketing Brew. The results of a survey published by the Trustworthy Accountability Group and the Brand Safety Institute suggest that audiences are of the opinion that ads should be served on all high-quality journalism, regardless of story content. TikTok developer ByteDance is hiring someone for podcast business development. 2 weeks ago, we covered the breadcrumb trail of evidence showing TikTok is taking steps to get into podcasting in the near future. Recently, a job posting has appeared on the ByteDance website aiming to hire someone with at least 5 years of podcast licensing or podcast digital business development experience. Market Ingenuity Podcast Group becomes Soundrise, offering a, quote, revenue-focused partner for values-aligned podcast partners, end quote.
And that was The Download, brought to you by Sounds Profitable. Today's episode was built using Spooler and hosted on Triton Digital's Omni Studio. Find out more at spooler.fm and omnistudio.com. I know we went through today's stories fast, so be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned, right in your podcast listening app or on soundsprofitable.com/thedownload. And thank you for sticking with us as we bring you the top stories you might have missed from the past week. I'm Manuela Bedoya.
And I'm Shreya Sharma. Our producers are Brian Barletta, Gavin Gaddis, and Tom Webster. Special thanks to Omni Studio for hosting The Download. And as always, thank you to you for joining us. Robot?
Download complete.